What is good? What is good? What's good with the people out there? I am Damo, the political plug, and this is the Chop Up Show. I'm here with my dog, Toya G. Toya, what's good with you?
I'm smooth, yo. It's Monday. It's not
Yeah.
Thursday. It's Monday. We will actually be back on Thursday though. We did not get a chance to close it out last week. But on President's Day, we thought it a good idea to come together and
Only
talk a
right.
little presidential, some presidential things. You know what I'm saying? To go
Conversation, some
presidential
presidential
a little
conversation.
bit. You know what I'm saying? We'll share a bit and go back and forth. But more than anything, today is a rainy day. Tomorrow be a rainy day in California. A lot of flooding, a lot of foolishness, a lot of rock sliding,
Yeah,
lot.
California don't deal with
So
rain well at all. Just to
not
let
at
y'all
all.
know.
So we thugging it out. We pushing
Yeah.
through. But I'm smooth. I'm smooth. It's good to be back with you though, my brother.
For sure, for sure. So, cause Toya wasn't there with doing the marathons with me. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to
True.
everybody that rock
True.
with me with the Fonnie Willis coverage. We was on there for a few hours for a couple days, and we're gonna get back to it when they come back too. So we ain't even done. But we say the Fonnie Willis stuff for later though, because shout out to Miss Ma'am. We got Donnell in the building. Make sure when y'all
What's
come in
good,
here, y'all
y'all?
hit that like button and y'all say what's up. But check it out. So it's President's Day. And it's like Toya was like, all right, this is when we could talk some presidential shit. We could talk some like lightweight political shit. You feel me? So I was just like, cool, let's take advantage of it. Chris
Mm-hmm.
John P in the building was good with you. So I'm
Chrissy
like,
P,
all
what's
right.
good? What's good? It's good to see you up in here.
So I'm like, okay, cool. But I had a few ideas, but I'm like, I don't want to talk Trump though specifically. Like I
Right.
want to talk presidential candidates in terms of something that's productive. And I feel like the question that is not being asked enough ever when we talking voting, when we talking politics, the question that's never getting asked is, what do you want to vote for? Because on God, niggas know exactly who they don't rock with. Niggas know,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying, who's not getting their vote, who's not getting their support, not getting their likes, their tweets, you know what I'm saying? None of that, right? So we know that, like off break. Like I think we all have a very firm grasp on who's disliked and who people don't
I
want to
mean,
vote
we
for.
got a firm grasp. I mean, so much so that people, and I think the reason why people have such a firm grasp because we were getting the same type of candidates over and over again. So people are just like able to pick out a thing that I don't fool with. Like I ain't voting for no more men, or I ain't voting for no more old ass white men specifically. You know what I'm saying?
Specifically,
Or
yeah.
like I don't care who it is. I don't really care what's going on. Who running again? Oh, it's just somebody who
The
has been a
same old,
career
same old.
politician. You know what I'm saying? Like so. There's a bunch of just commonalities that will turn people off from voting altogether. Not even just certain candidates, but from the whole institution.
Yeah, just we've lost the idea that there is a type of candidate that I would rock with. So we might as well just
Yeah.
focus on, you know what I'm saying, the what is it that we don't like. And it's like I get it. But I do think it'll be a bit more productive if we moved more in the direction of who would niggas vote for? Cause like I'm intrigued. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, cause niggas be having a lot to say. Shout out to Tyler in the building. Big sis, Tiff in
Tiffany
the
in the building.
building.
What's good?
Thank y'all for rocking out with us. Y'all ain't doing nothing. Y'all got today off anyway, hopefully. Um, so so today we gonna have a conversation about, does the perfect candidate exist?
Mhm.
Are they out there? Right. Um, I'm under the perception that they're out there, but it's other questions that we have to work through when we talking about this system. You know what I'm saying? So the practice that we're gonna partake in today, and what we want y'all to join us in doing today is, if anybody play video games, y'all know how this go down. We're building the perfect candidate. You know what I
Right.
mean? And we not playing either. We get into the nitty gritty. I'm talking about like what?
I got a question for you, but you can
Yes.
keep explaining. But after you get done, I have a quick question for you.
Yeah. So yeah, we get into the bare bones. We want the specifics. We're creating specifics in these people. You know what I'm saying? Everything from gender, sexuality, socioeconomic status, party. We're going to build the perfect candidate. What question did you have for me, Toya?
So before we get into actually building the perfect candidate, I do want to ask: is there a human being walking the earth right now that may or may not have any of these specific traits, characteristics that we're about to get into, but would be an ideal, like if you could just throw somebody in there just to see how America feels about them right now,
Right.
if you could throw them in the race, who would it be? Do you have a person, an ideal individual? And it could be quick, it could be an underdeveloped thought, because this is one I'm putting you on the spot with, but
Nah, this actually
just
probably something I've
who's
been
your
standing
heart
on for
saying?
a while. Like, me, tell you, this is shit. I stand on this for a while.
Who your
Michelle
heart
Obama.
saying?
Michelle
Okay,
Obama.
okay. Why?
I get why Michelle Obama don't want to run, but the perfect spit in the face of Trump presidency and even a Biden presidency will be Michelle Obama. Like, I'm talking about like if in terms of like black women status, black women
Yeah.
unity. You feel me? Like the type of controversy and things that they gotta make up about Michelle Obama in order to kind of tear her down type shit. Like, yeah, it's like the only person more unifying than Michelle was Barack himself, and that's just because the nigga
Yeah.
was president. But yeah, like you throw Michelle out there, niggas ain't about to be arguing about that. Like, wait, yeah, easy.
I can see. I mean, I think there will still be arguments and disagreement. I think people will be able to respond to those disagreements by saying most of your criticism is of the husband and not of her.
Right.
So there will be responses and things to be said, but I can understand that. For
And sexism and
me,
patriarchy. And sexism and patriarchy. You know how that get down. I mean, so
yeah.
there'll be, yeah, it's not going to be universal. I mean, but it would be the same amount of people that didn't like Obama. You know what I'm saying? So it was just, it wasn't enough to stop him. It wasn't enough to stop him. So, yeah.
It's interesting because I don't have a go-to answer to this question. I really don't know who I think an ideal candidate would be.
Uh-huh.
Um, you know, I don't know. Like, I think what I'm forced to do is look back on candidates who have already run. Um, I guess for the party that I was most likely to vote for, which would be the Democratic Party, and I would say, I don't know. I think Bernie, just because I mean, I don't know. I don't want to say him,
Bernie. I
but
mean,
because he's just a feisty East Coast old white man. I really do. I am tickled by that persona, by that approach, by that
I,
texture and aesthetic. If
yeah,
not,
yeah.
then Elizabeth Warren. You know what I'm saying? I guess I could pivot out. I still don't know about Kamala Harris is in the mix, and she's the most likely. It's weird. I mean, I don't know. I'm almost
And
at a. If I could pick somebody, it would be anybody from who we've cycled through who really deserved maybe a little bit more to be heard out a little bit more based on
But
what we've seen with who
I
we
do
got.
think it's important to note though that like you see how difficult it is to talk about who you would fucking support. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah,
how like
yeah.
just even that's the only reason I done had I really thought I had an answer for that question is because I didn't been asked that question a million times. Like so
That's fair.
yeah, so
Who
I'm
else?
prepared for that.
If it ain't him, then who are you trying to? Yeah,
Yeah.
like I can understand. Like, and I'm not entertaining those questions because I'm disinterested and
Right.
I'm disenchanted with the role in general. The comments though got me cracking up though because uh, Tyler said, "Dom with the light skin optimism as always."
Get out of here.
Uh,
Get out of
then
here.
said, then followed up and he said, "I vote for Queen Latifah. She's the equalizer." And then said what I was thinking. Michelle gonna ban fast food and have us eating veggies. If she's
Yes.
gonna come in, the agenda
Yes.
is gonna be set, bro. She's like, as I was saying,
Right.
about my plate. You know
Yeah,
what I'm saying? Like she really
exactly. We
finna
gonna
come
feed these
in.
kids right. We gonna feed these kids right. So Michelle like that. And then Miss
Yeah, shout
Ma'am
out.
said John Stewart as her VP. Yeah, that'll
Right
piss them
on.
all
I can
off
see
too.
it.
That'll
I
piss
gotta
them
show
all off
love to
too.
Tori J. Popped in here. Definitely long time friend of the show. Said, "What's up, y'all? Back with another great topic of discussion. Definitely trying to figure out some things and we're building our own perfect candidate, especially since that candidate doesn't seem to exist. But it's definitely fun to imagine if we could just kind of go back and either
So
recreate
let's
time in history,
yeah,
I
so
or pick from a slate of who existed. You know what I'm saying? What we would do. What were you saying?
uh no, I was saying so yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, I was getting there. I was getting there.
Let's build these let's build these candidates up. So the framework that we had is we want to know race, gender, sexuality, socioeconomic status, all of the demographic characteristics. All of the demographic characteristics, right? Like who they are, like when you first look at them and what do you see, right? Then we want to know party identification.
Mm-hmm.
Democrat, Republican, Green Party, Independent, any of that. Next, we want to know the issues that matter to them. You know what I mean? What issues do they campaign on? What do they talk about? And then we want to know what policies would they support. So if a certain type of bill got put down, what type of policies would they support? And
Mm-hmm.
we want to hear from y'all as well. So again, demographic characteristics, party identification, issues that matter to them, and the policies that they would support. All right. So Toya, do you want to go ahead and get this started?
Um, so we'll start. I guess we just started with like characteristics,
Demographic.
right?
Yep.
Demographics.
Yep.
Demographics. Okay.
Yep.
I'll start off with demographics. I want a candidate who is under 65. I want a candidate who's under 65.
Okay.
I feel like,
Starting with age.
listen, and here's my justification because I'm not just gonna pick something for the sake of picking it. I feel like uh working Americans have a cutoff age. I feel like a whole lot more industries, this whole CEOs, I forget what company this was, but just last week had to step down from an important position of an important company. Was it Apple? It was maybe not somebody, maybe Apple, because he had just reached the age. It was just like, it's simple. It's in your contract. You've had a great time. It's been
You've had a
fun.
run.
And not even, and here's the thing, not even for the reason of undermining, the age of 65, the sharpness, the aptitude, the ability to do the job. I just honestly believe at some point you got to move out the way to make space for somebody else. I
Right.
really do believe that. And
Right.
you probably have had a time, if not at this particular company or institution or whatever, but in this industry, in this field, you've seen some things, you've done some things, you lived a good life, slot over. You know what I'm
J
saying? Make
Universe in
room.
the building.
Shout out to the homie J Universe. And so that's my thing under 65. I
Okay.
would say I want uh ideally my candidate to be non-white. I don't care. I don't care. Big believer in skin folk not being kinfolk. Barack Obama had a great 8 years, not fooled by any of that. If he were
Okay.
darker or somebody darker came in, wouldn't be moved by that.
Right.
Niggas are interesting too. Everybody has something to lose.
All
I
right.
think
So
y'all
I
remember, you
admit,
remember that Cat Williams joke? Go ahead.
no. So race is just like just non-white, just non-white.
Not white. Like,
Okay.
remember Cat Williams, white, 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 white,
Yeah.
white,
Yeah.
white,
Yeah.
white,
Right.
white,
Right.
white.
Right. Right.
Like,
Right. Yeah.
let's just continue to sprinkle.
Yeah.
Let's just
Spice it
continue
up.
to add some shit
Yeah.
for the sake of, right?
Yeah.
Um, I non-male.
Okay.
Non-male. Cannot identify as a male. Would
Okay.
prefer. Wouldn't not as hard pressed about that as I am about non-white.
Non-white.
So I'm a little bit more flexible with
Right.
non-male, but
Right.
preferentially for the same reasons I've identified above. Let's go
Yeah.
ahead and shake that up too.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
because I really think ideally the person who I want the president to have a period. Like I
got
do. The
you.
vice
I got
president
you.
has one. I think that's lit. I want the president to be like,
I feel like there are. I promise you. I promise you. There are jokes about women being in office dealing with periods. There are.
and I know,
There's
and I
some
want to, because ain't
Yo,
nobody finna start no war, but because of it. But you also not finna come in this press room and talk wild to me because
talk
this
about
is not a good day for you. Like,
not that
so
day. That's interesting.
it's both
That's
of them are
interesting.
both and you know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? Like, and I
yeah,
think
yeah,
you need the freedom to get up in that.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, and
Okay,
shout out
okay.
to K. We got who is it?
Blue,
Blue in the
we got Blue in
comments.
the
Like,
building.
definitely a lot of the homies back in here. Hit that thumbs up if you haven't already, especially if y'all plan to kick it with us for a second.
Yeah.
But I got a couple more things. So
No, yeah. Good. Keep going. You got two. I think you got the other two. Socioeconomic status.
socioeconomic status. Okay, I'm gonna tie socioeconomic status together with education, level of
Okay.
education.
Okay. Okay.
So and so we'll get there, right? I want state college educated, right?
Okay.
Which generally kind of already speaks to like public institution, not state college, public institution. I want the same thing I want an MA. Max is MA. You don't have to have a PhD. I'll take an MA, a JD. I'll take some time in law, but you like common person. I want you to have made $60,000-$70,000 in your life before. I don't want you to have popped out and already been over 100K. I'm good on that. I do want you to have had that experiential kind of be of the people with the people, not like no network,
Personable.
not networked. Yes,
Yeah.
personable, but also to
Yeah.
have experiences that are self-made and leveraged off of something that's outside of a network. Like you literally worked, like the network didn't automatically work for you. Am I making sense? There wasn't a pipeline for you already set up.
Right. You worked through it on your own. You had to you got financial aid type
I
shit.
think the young people say they got it out of the mud. I think that's what they might say.
Right. I think that is correct.
Anything else? What am I missing? Any other what other demographic information should I cover? Believe in anything you want. I don't care what you believe in.
Okay.
I don't care what you do or don't do on a Sunday or whatever day of the week.
So it's like hella inclusive outside of like education.
Do your job.
Okay. Okay.
And when you've done enough of that type of job, get out of the way so
Get
somebody
out the
else can
way.
come and do the job.
Right.
And also have some spice and flair to you, right? You know, one of my faves who I really am a fan of, who don't hurt a fly,
Who is that?
and he actually don't fit a lot of these, but I still bang with him. Pete Buttigieg, because he got a little, he gay. He just got a
Yeah,
little
yeah,
ha.
yeah,
You know what
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
saying?
yeah, 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 yeah.
And but he just comes in and does the job. His ha ain't got nothing to do with how he do his job, and ain't got nothing to do, but it's just something to be like, me and my husband, like, what you and your husband be doing? Like, I like little personal interviews. Like, what y'all be up to? Like, tell me more, Secretary of
Yeah.
Transportation.
Right, right,
I'm
right.
a
So that's
fan.
so like that like so Buttigieg represents like that level of queerness that's comfortable, you know what I'm saying, to be in that type of position. I feel you.
Yeah.
Policies. Oh no 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 no.
Wait. Okay. The comments though is talking to us. We gotta see what the comments talking about in relation to demographics. You wanna
Okay.
go and look at them?
Yeah, so I see KJ said I prefer younger candidates that actually listen to the people too, but I ain't holding my breath for that either.
Yeah.
As we discussed previously, Toy, that was number one on Toya's list. Uh, let me see. Miss Ma'am said
Miss Ma'am said,
no beige suits the third week of every month. Okay.
my dog. Absolutely. Like
Okay.
when we switch it up, you can make your own assumptions. But also the power blue and the power black is already gonna be in the rotation as a president. So mind your business. You know what I'm saying? But
Facts.
it's all about the experience.
KJ said women can be capable, if not more. It sucks. Sexism is so prevalent in the United States for sure.
Bingo.
Uh, Krishan said my ideal candidate has to be non-cisgender. Got you. Got you.
Yeah.
And this is the level of specificity. This is the level of specificity we wanted. You know what I'm saying? This is the
Just
level of
ideally.
specificity we want because these are things that we think about that we don't think about, but we think about. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like because it kind of exposed some, even just thinking about these questions kind of exposed some things about myself that we're gonna get
Ooh,
into. But
Blue want a millennial. Blue said definitely got to be a 90s baby. So like up to 96.
yeah,
I'm assuming you mean early 90s when
96,
times was
97.
simple and good. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? Like that's when the
the
millennial
90s
cutoff
that you
is. So
remember.
exactly.
Yeah,
And so like I think that's kind of lit. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
That specifically you want somebody who's like of I'm assuming our generation, somebody who I think, and here's what's important about our generation, I think really demographically qualifies us to be president. We perfectly bridged the gap between the overwhelming influx and influence of technology and a simpler time and a simpler life. You know what I'm saying? I recorded songs off the radio and did the whole shit for my voicemail and you know what I'm saying, whatever, and recorded songs off the Hot 888 to make mixtapes with. I did all of
right.
that. And then
I
have the hottest phones and navigate technology with the best of them and know how to use anything that they put out there. And I have that will to learn and adapt to new technology, which I feel like some people in the generation maybe over us is just like, I'm good.
we over
So
with it. Yeah.
I think that qualifies us to get in there in the mix and really represent the two worlds that have kind of come together in a lot of different ways.
Yeah, we was raised by Generation X.
Built different.
Yeah, we was raised
And
by Gen
boomers. We
X. You know what I'm
and
saying?
boomers. You know what
And
I'm saying? My
boomers,
mama a
yeah, like
boomer.
our great,
So
yeah, like in that range. You feel me? So,
yeah.
like, you know, that's something different. But well, you talked about issues, right? You talked about what issues they need. Oh no, 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 that's what we on now. Then
Yeah.
issues.
Issues.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, I got you want me to go first or you want to go? You go ahead and knock yours out.
Well, first, I guess let me do my demographic joint then. Let me do
Oh,
my
of course,
demographic
of
data, yeah,
course.
and then we'll get to
Please.
issues. All right, so demographic data for me, the first thing when we first started thinking about this, black woman, black woman.
Out the gate.
Okay.
Call it.
But then I did have to think. All right, let me be let me be more specific though. You feel me? And then and I guess at this is a point where I had to be honest with myself. And what am I saying with a black woman? I'm saying a cisgender black woman that really when it comes to her sexuality, it's more like a private thing than anything else. You know what I'm saying? So it's like she would be considered like a single woman, but it's more so that it's not anybody else's business who she fucking with.
So like Queen Latifah for a long time. Like
Yeah,
you want the
right,
queen.
right, right. You know what I'm saying? So,
Hey,
so
can I also say something about yours real quick? My runner up was a single black woman with a single mother. Like
okay,
a cisgender. I want a cisgender. No, I couldn't decide whether I wanted to be a lesbian, single mother with like multiple kids,
yeah,
or a lesbian woman still with kids. You got to have the kids.
Yeah.
Because I want you. I think lesbian makes it more juicy because now the half of America's gonna wonder how she got the kids. They're gonna be too dumb. Like so, I just want America's worst nightmare. You know what I'm
Right,
saying?
right,
So
right,
that
right,
was what I
right.
was going for. I decided not to go that
Think about
direction,
what you
but I
saying. We
just
talking
want to
about
say,
like a presidential candidate. This nigga said she want America's worst nightmare. This is gonna be. That's why it's gonna be an interesting conversation as we continue.
ah,
But I mean,
I
because
didn't mean to
but I could
hijack. But
tell,
yeah,
like even when you was like periods in the White House, I was like, I know what you trying to do. You want niggas to be mad. You want Fox News to get sued for making a she's on the rag joke.
I
You know what I'm
love it.
saying? Like about the president when she say something they don't like, because that will happen. That's how that's gonna happen. But yeah, so I'm thinking
Tyler also said
cisgender.
or Alicia Keys. I like that. Like or Alicia Keys in terms of the ambiguity there. We got some other options
Yeah,
rolling in.
yeah.
Bruh.
Black woman.
Okay.
I did age. I thought about secondarily.
Yeah.
Uh, age between 39 to 45. Between 39 to 45. I feel like that's a very specific age group, you know what I'm saying, that
Yeah.
experienced a lot of things, you know what I mean? Like really and at the same time spearheaded a lot of shit. You feel me? Like as we come to like we talk about things like black feminism and you know what I'm saying, like the kind of sexual revolution outside of what we see with white women, but what's actually going on with sisters. It's just like, okay, that
Hmm.
like that group was they said we embracing that shit. Like that's a part of our identity. That's how we think about the world. That's how we gonna, you know what I'm saying, view all that shit. So it's just like, yo, that I'm fucking with that. Like them that age group of women is that the group that was like for me that made me understand that like you solve the problems of the black woman, you solve the problems of the world. Like I would
Oh,
that's how I got led to that way of
so what
thinking.
you said? What's the start and end of that? What's the bracket?
From 39 to 45.
39 to 40. Okay, so that's a tight window. I was like,
Yeah.
wait, 39 to
Yeah.
45. You got 6 years of depth and breadth about life to understand. And you have aged out of Dominique's desires. But I get it.
Right.
It's a
Well,
very specific experience they bring.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think it's a very specific insight. You feel me? That they have, and like it is.
Hmm.
I don't know. I think it's a lot we can get from that. Like I think about people like Jasmine Crockett. You know what I mean? And like
Yeah.
the Ilhan Omars of the world, and you
And
feel me?
Corey
Like how
Bush and such. Yeah.
yeah, how they move to me is example how like black people should just move politically. You feel me?
Yeah.
So I gotta go with them. Uh, socioeconomic status from the hood, like you said, like just from the gate, got it out the mud though. Yeah, I
Hmm.
mean, like all type of breaking all type of generational curses. You know what I'm saying? Like overcoming all type of socioeconomic barriers. You know what I mean? And a part of this though, if I'm being honest, is a part of is the reflection of black women being statistically the most educated group of people in this country, the most degree
Yeah.
group of people in this country. You feel me? So it's like, how can we have like amongst the black community, how can we have this group that's display that is excelling even
Hmm.
beyond the people that we saying is keeping us down, and we not putting them on a pedestal. We not
Yeah.
highlighting that from a perspective of leadership. You feel me? So it's like from
The ultimate leadership in this country.
exactly. So for me, I feel like it's important that like them as a candidate go into it from the position of like I come from a particular place. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna get lost in what like all of like the charms and the privileges that come with this, because my goal is to be connected to that place I came from. And I and
Absolutely.
I, I think that black women for like in that particular age range represent that like in a more radical perspective than anybody else. I mean, and it's like it kind of has more gaps like younger, but when we talking about just like
Hmm.
leadership, like the president themselves, I think those ages are good. Uh, so that's my yeah, that's my demographic data.
Okay, wait, because we got it. The comments have been kind of chiming in a little bit too. So let's go. Blue said single black mother will help us get out of any financial crisis. Salute and
Right,
agreed.
right, right,
KJ said I was listening to Latifah the other day. I still don't think it stated how nice she was for what it's worth. Dope MC. One of my top criteria is a black woman I can build from her, like 1,000%. And we were talking about the single black mother, and Tyler said Mississippi will lose his mind.
right.
Donnell makes an important point, which is the bridge that we're gonna use to get back to our next comment. So I'm gonna leave that there. Single mother that Miss Ma'am did their demographic description. Single mother that leans mass, black woman. She gonna have everybody gathered up, and I agree. Like I'm trying to think who's another. We got enough good examples rolling around, but it's so many. Now you
Look at what
dropped
this nigga
your
Tyler
age
said.
demographic. Let me see. Tyler said if Dom wasn't married, I would assume this Tinder profile could be true. Moving right along. KJ said a bit younger than 50 for sure, and non-white preferably, but also not scared to speak on injustices that happen in their demographics, as well as pushing for policies to help their demographics.
Right,
Ideally, rock
right.
with that. Um, 39-year-old pansexual hood chick with a question mark. That's ultimately what Damo is looking for. Um, that's a great summary,
This nigga
Tyler.
said Lori
And then Lori
Lightfoot.
Light.
Nah,
I am
nah.
dead. I don't care for identity if they're gonna run just like any other older white man candidate. KJ, exactly, right? Like we said, skin folk, even queer folk, ancient kin folk, whatever, all this little stuff we got in common, they use it as a bait and switch. So I agree with y'all. You know what I'm saying? This is important, but it can't just be the only thing. Like that's one
Nah,
thousand percent the fact.
but the reason why we start with it, to be clear though, is like as much like I understand the like the essentializing identity critique in like looking at candidates from these perspectives, but then there's also just like a cultural call. You feel me? Like it's certain things
The
that we
sniff test,
connect
like,
to
do you
from an
pass the
identity.
sniff test? Like,
Yeah, like from an identity level, you feel me? And that's why like that the reason why I literally prefaced it with like with specifically demographic data is we're gonna have to be honest about who we want like really in leadership from every
yeah,
perspective. Like if we're talking about our
yeah.
perfect candidate, let's be real here. Let's break it down to the last compound, as they say. Right? And that
So
speaks even to like these very specific questions. Because we see these things being relevant. I'll say this and we can keep going with Fonnie
yeah,
Willis as it's happening right now. Like
yeah.
all of those identity politics are playing a role in how Fonnie Willis is being perceived and whether or not this
Yeah,
conversation of what she's been doing with herself is even legitimate.
factual.
So yeah, go
Donnell
ahead.
said, Donnell said, I think I struggle with this topic because I don't feel the candidate is the priority.
Mm-hmm.
I'm all about them policies, baby. I just want somebody who's held accountable for the people who got them there.
Right.
And then Donnell says, great point. Identity politics, as we know, it can be divisive and counterproductive, even though we know it can be ignored in a society structure like ours. So, like, really a great, gathering of what you said and a good bridge to what we get into as we say what's
Mm-hmm.
good to advance. What's popping? Great to have you in here. Go ahead and like get us into the policy specific conversations in terms of the issues or that
Yeah.
direction of like the nitty gritty of what this candidate, whoever they are, is gonna get us.
Okay. So first we're gonna start with issues, right? And I'm gonna go through mines like real quick because I got too many. Like Toya said, you got to stop. And I had another one that I forgot, and she prayed on me
Watch
for
it come
not to
back
not
to you.
remember it.
Watch it
Well,
come
we'll
back to
see.
you at the
We'll
darnest
see.
time.
We'll
Yeah.
see. All right. So issues that matter to them. So things they campaign on, things that they speak on, like the type of organizations they support. Black autonomy. They recognize the need for black people to be empowered to be able to like dictate the politics of their community, right? I'm not willing to go as far enough as just straight up say black nationalism. I'm not willing to go that far, but at least the concept of black people, because like black autonomy could be couched in black people running for office. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? So it don't sound as black nationalist ish when you say just black people running for office, but essentially that's what that would be. Like black people dictating the politics of their community by having somebody from the community run like be in that office. So black autonomy, of course, women's rights and reproductive rights, poverty and homelessness, corporate greed, police brutality and over policing, reparations, reparations, and then education. So those would be the things
Reparations,
that it,
education, police brutality. I'm kind of cycling through them in my mind real quick.
yeah. So I'll run through them again. So black
Yeah.
autonomy slash black people running for office in their neighborhoods where they live. Women's rights and reproductive rights. Poverty and homelessness,
Mm-hmm.
corporate greed, police brutality and over policing, and reparations.
Okay.
Yeah. Those would be like the platforms for my perfect candidate.
So rock with that heavy. There will be some overlap.
Okay. Of
Y'all
course.
don't forget to drop in the chat some of the stuff that y'all care about.
Right.
Uh, so I think voting I don't want to just say access, but like
Mm,
voting,
I think that's what it was.
like voting, grappling with voting,
Yeah.
right? And that, I say, and here's why I struggle with it, because it's twofold. I think access is, of course, a paramount issue, right? Like just really forcing the hand of the Supreme Court, forcing the hand of whatever legislative bodies exist to come up with a better version of the Voters' Rights Act of 1965 that really cleans this shit up and really makes the
Yeah.
access to the ability to participate
Man, you said
in
a new
politics
Voting Rights Act.
like a better one, a remixed version, an upgraded version, a reinstilled version. Shit, like
Yeah.
one that's unbothered and tampered with it and judged up for the challenges of a 2024
And
America.
and doesn't have a time limit on that. Like, yeah,
Exactly, right?
yeah,
Forever and ever, amen. Like, because why
right.
would you put a time limit on some shit like that? I also want there to be incentives attached to voting. And what I mean by that is like, I don't care if I come vote and you give everybody a $20 gas card, but give people a reason to show up, because people are turned off from paying attention. They're distracted by the
Mm-hmm.
heavy lifting they have to do day to day, the taking off of work they have to do, depending on where you live. Like, it's so many things. So I think there need like a tax incentive. I don't know if you kick me back an
Right.
extra $50 or $100 for every election. I probably, like, I don't know. But
Yeah.
incentivized voting, I think, should be a thing, because voting numbers are just like at an all-time low. Historically, they continue to get worse, and people need a reason to show up.
This is, I'm proud of you. I like, yeah, voting accessibility. I didn't expect that one, Miss.
No,
I'm
and it
not
was at the
giving
top of
any
my
of these
list.
people my support. But go
Shut up, nigga.
ahead.
The other side of voting that needs to be regulated is definitely super PACs. We got to take money out of politics. I think that's a
Okay.
huge part of it, because the people who are, we trying to get to show up to vote for, people are voting for fucking millionaires and trillionaires, and people who are, corporate personhood, their
Yeah.
ability to be their money makes them the same as me, right? But their votes
Actually
end up
bigger than
going so
you.
much further. Hello, bigger than me,
Yeah.
crowding me out. You know what I'm saying? But because they can get in rooms that my little voice ain't never gonna get in, I think that's bad. That gotta go. Second thing, so that's what I mean when I say voting in general. Like, that needs to be a priority of somebody who is president, is to fix that institution and to not let up on being insistent. Because it's bipartisan as shit. Like, if you won, you won. If you lost, you lost. But quit being a hoe about it and clean up this process so that people can get there and really say who they want, for better or for worse. I would feel better about just having to deal with somebody for 4 years if I felt like how they got in there was fair.
Yeah.
Um, Similar to you, black specific initiatives slash reparations. I do want a president, and when I look at, because one of the things that I was gonna suggest as a topic was like the best presidents, the five best presidents for black people or whatever. Kind of a simple topic, didn't really have a lot to build on it, but I did a little research, and I feel like the two presidents outside of, like, Lincoln, for better or for worse, like, of course, freed the slaves. We
Right.
know he was still racist and his ambitions behind his whatever. But
Right.
people who I feel like had pure intentions and had logic, reasoning, and compassion on their side when they made the decisions they did, for whatever it's worth, uh, are JFK and Lyndon B. Johnson. You know what I'm saying? JFK started some shit. He got killed before he could finish it. Lyndon B. Johnson went ahead and ran with it. And that's, of course, the Civil Rights Act and the Voters' Rights Act. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Those are the two, outside of being free, yeah, slaves, like some of the most two pivotal components of the reality that we live in right now.
Yeah.
It's just marginalized people.
Now I
And
do
so
have a go ahead. I'll say this afterwards.
and then I'm gonna just finish this thought. So, we get upset with Obama because he couldn't get up there and be a black president and say black and be like, this is for black people, this is specifically for black people, da 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 da. And that's the criticism politicians have now, because it seems like they can shout out everybody except
Except
for
black
black
people.
people and be
Yeah.
specific. But we had two white presidents who was specifically
Specifically,
saying
yeah.
for black people. So it can't be done. You know what I'm saying? That's no longer an excuse. It's not something I'm willing to fall for. I want the issues that my president speak on to be directly targeted toward niggas unapologetically. But yeah.
So I do have a criticism. I have a, well, not even necessarily a criticism, but like a interest convergence theory example in terms of that, because like even when JFK gave like that one civil rights speech where he was talking about the issues in the communities, he used the phrase riots in the street like 8 or 9 times. So it was like
Mm.
the argument was that it was the rise of like the more radical black politics, and the willingness for them to get in the street and like actually, you know what I'm saying, fuck some shit up, that gave them
Mm.
the incentive to be like, all right, let's get these niggas a civil rights bill, because if not, they really gonna burn this shit down, and that's a problem. So, but
Look, if the French don't do nothing else right, they will go and shut shit DOWN down. And I really feel
exactly.
like we need to get in our bag.
Get in that bag, exactly. So that's what's
Yeah.
missing. I do want to point out something that that Van said. He was like, "Oh hell, I feel like we're too radical for this discussion. We need a complete systemic overhaul because the two-party system is really the problem." He said, "I took Bernie over
Oh, we
Biden."
forgot.
Which, yeah, like, because I think this is the thing. What happens with the two-party system in my eyes is like we allow it to kind of take over how we had a conversation. That shit really don't have no power outside of whether or not we choose in which gang we in. You know what I'm saying? So it's like if we had candidates that operated like mostly on those issues and the policies that they support, as
Mm.
opposed to being like, well, I'm a Democrat, so this is what I mean when I say I'm a Democrat, then that shit would fall to the wayside. You feel me? Like, and then it would just be another organizing function for the candidates. But it's just like
Exactly.
that's why it's like, because even what I asked is like, also what would your perfect candidates what's the name
Party
be?
B.
Party identification. I put independent, cause fuck it. You know what I'm saying? Like independent. Like I really don't
I
I really
say
don't sway
independent
no
too,
way.
just because we ain't finna change no Democrats that don't want to change, and we already know what time Republicans on forever and ever and amen, especially
Exactly.
since they've, shifted their political interests a couple decades ago. So it's just like, why even pretend?
Yeah, so like that battle is a battle that we can overcome just by having more. Because I'm willing to vote for a conservative that got the type of policies that fit. You know what I'm saying? What I think is good for either my neighborhood or other black neighborhoods. So like that's why that should become wholly ineffective. The last thing we gonna talk about with our perfect candidate.
I still, I still had a couple more
Oh, my
things in
fault, my
terms of
fault. Go ahead.
issues.
Yeah, yeah,
Nah, you
yeah.
smooth. So women's gender and reproductive rights.
Got you.
Like just definitely specifically, birthing people specifically, uh wage issue, specifically the pink tax. Like, I should be able to get free pads and tampons if you want me to reproduce so fucking bad. Like, I just don't know why the math is hard on that. But like shit like that, like common sense thing, like the Lily Ledbetter Act, like turn it up, like give me the whole dollar. Is this nigga like what's hard about these things? Somebody who's voraciously gonna nip those things in the bud, as well as also trans issues, as well as also, you know what I'm saying, like just the issues that mothers experience. You know what I'm saying? Like the lack of child care that exists, like all of that needs to be a part of that issue, part and parcel.
Yeah.
Immigration.
Huh.
Um,
I purposely left that
like
off, but go ahead.
why you leave it off? I'm curious. Why
Because
why why you don't want nobody dealing with that?
well, nah, it's not that. I mean, they gonna have to deal with it inevitably. I just don't think it's not a priority thing for me, because the way that the way that it's currently being handled is really just a political football. It's just something to get like it's just really something to be passed back and forth to the advantage or to the disadvantage of, you know what I'm saying, either one of the candidates. And let me explain why. Like, because Democrats don't even realize this is the type of place where Democrats slap themselves in the face with this conversation. So when they're in perfect example where our politics is shit, right? On one hand, you have Republicans saying that Joe Biden and his administration has been unwilling to do anything about what's happening at the border, right? However, Joe Biden and most of the Senate has a bill that needs to get over to the House that would be one of the more, like, what they consider to be one of the harsher immigration bills to come out as of recent, right?
Mm.
So there's a bill, y'all literally choosing not to vote for it. Okay. Democrats, on the other hand, y'all the ones claiming that y'all pro immigration, and y'all want more humane, more productive ways of getting people into the community, getting people nationalized or having them have to leave, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then why the fuck are y'all bragging about? Why are y'all introducing one of the harshest immigration bills like in recent history? It don't make sense.
It don't make sense. I mean,
It's
here's the
so
thing.
it's just politicized. You know what I'm saying? But go ahead.
You have the ineptitude of the Democrats in order to come up with a realistic solution. Because I mean, here's the thing. I feel like, of course, it's amped up and it's being hyperbolized.
Mm-hmm.
But there is the truth that kind of access to resources, access to jobs, like the priorities that exist in a lot of these
Interesting.
places. Like, and we talk about the Chicago issue,
We
right? Those
did.
concerns are real. Black
Yeah.
communities who are experiencing disparities are fighting for resources with individuals who are being welcomed in with the red carpet rolled out. And I won't say a red carpet because it ain't like they getting treated the best. I don't care what nobody want to say about the line items of
Yeah.
what these programs
They living
include.
in
They not getting
shelters.
shit. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Like, so I'm not finna, but the nuance is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's somebody who willing to stay down and get down with the nuance. And I'm speaking from nuance when I
Got
say
you.
there is a level of attention that does need to be dealt with the way immigration happens, but it doesn't need to be insensitive or completely unrealistic about the United States that we live in. I am an educator in Southern California. I am committed to a path of citizenship and a reasonable way to deal with immigrants who are already here, including getting completely getting rid of ICE and abolishing that shit,
Yeah.
include like so many things.
Yeah.
But my ideal candidate would be somebody being able to think within the gray and think about a realistic way that we allow for people to come into this country and transition into it without it coming at the expense of people who have always already been marginalized and stuck at the bottom rungs and fucked over because they don't get the things that they need.
Okay.
So I don't have the answers for it. It's sticky. I want somebody qualified and invested enough to get into it.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
want
Invested in
um
and recognize the nuance. I'm with it.
Exactly. I need somebody to close the loophole for the rich. I think that's the biggest kind of way to take a swipe at capitalism. The United States is a capitalist country. Capitalism, for better or worse, kind of shapes and influences my life, and I get that.
Right.
But the shit is too far. It's gone too far. It's just ridiculous. You know what I'm saying? And I think that there are realistic, common sense ways that rich people can be forced to pull their weight, because it's one thing for you to be rich and have a whole bunch of money. It's a whole other thing for you not to pull your weight. I ain't saying you got to pay for a whole bunch of public assistance. I'm not saying your money got to take the place of taxes and all types of shit, and that us as a collective can't find a meaningful way to move money around. But ain't no money to move around because you got all of it, you hoarding all of it, and you
Right.
ain't spending none of it.
And
And
you
that
ain't
shit is
spending it
whack.
in the economy. You buying all
And that shit
private
is
shit
whack.
from overseas. Yeah.
And that shit is whack.
Right. Right.
Couple more and I'll be done. Higher security. I'm sorry. I want a president. My ideal president would have higher scrutiny of the military budget and a willingness to be honest about things, the intersections between not jeopardizing our defense and our stature, but recognize the over and bloated and overspending that is in militarism. And I want them to really take money from that and of course, they can't do this as processes, but we using
Right.
fiat, we're using our imagination. I
Right.
want them to be able to then take that money and reallocate it to child care, K through 12, and post secondary education. Talked about all the money that you see being, be honest, an honest scrutinization of those budgets. And then when you find that money in them bomber jets and them F2 whatever's and they gotta and we don't need 50, 11,000 of them, we need seven.
Right.
Do something.
Okay.
Uh,
Military budget.
Homelessness. Off the rip,
Yeah.
homelessness. Too many abandoned houses. Too many homeless people. Too many possibilities. Too many loopholes and red tape for a lot of people who want to do things to be able to do the shit that they need to do. Realistically, gotta do something about that homelessness, the homelessness
Okay.
crisis that exists in the United States. And then that's the end of my list.
Okay. All right. Now, and then quickly, cause like this is probably the easier one. It's just like in terms of the type of policies. You feel me? Like for me, a reparations bill. You feel me? Education spending. Again, the return of child, like things like child income tax credits. You know what I'm saying? And those
Mm-hmm.
type of programs, the expansion of those type of programs, the expansion of things like Medicaid and Medicare. You know what I'm saying? All of the more, I ain't gonna lie, I'll say it, the more socialist type policies that are specifically created to, you know what I'm saying, help the community. Um, but also with stipulations, and this is where it's specific with stipulations on how that's done, right? A certain type of quality that's being provided with government resources, and that doesn't mean that you gotta. It has to be. That doesn't mean that it has to be like an overinflated budget for
Mm-hmm.
government resources, but like humane type shit. You know what I'm saying? Like that type. Again, and we're gonna talk about the reality of these things here soon. But those are the type of policies that my candidate would support. That like from the get go off break.
Okay. Policies my candidate would support off the break, of course. Federal legalization of abortions across the board. No state can opt out. No state can move no shit around. Um,
Mm.
let's see.
You setting yourself up for a constitutional battle, but go ahead.
So be it. We ain't new here.
Yeah, yeah. Let's go.
Also, I think it counts as a policy like the incentivized voting that I was talking about. I really do just think that there needs to be a meaningful kind of push behind those things. Reparations, when you talked about that, and I really think that has to be something that is untangled and figured out. Um, in the perfect answer, I don't know if you saw, like, California is like giving scholarships. I think it was what they said. That's their newest kind of, the state of California is offering scholarships as a form of reparations, which is very muchly like a quid pro quo. We know that to be very tit for tat. You do
Yeah,
this, I do that
yeah.
kind of
Scratching backs and
approach.
whatnot.
You know what I'm saying? Which I don't even, number one, because all it does is take the money you gave to black people and then recycle it and wash it back into institutions. And
Stay
because
money.
these institutions are also corporations. So we just
Right.
kind of refortifying those budgets and paying for fucking football coaches and basketball coaches and president salaries and shit. Because I'm a professor who just went through a strike scenario where my university system was not paying us anything but giving administrators and people who ain't been in the classroom in 20, 30 years, if ever, bonuses and shit. So trust me, that money's not gonna go to the people in the classroom. It's gonna go to these administrators and coaches and shit. So
Overinflated
that's the
budgets.
game.
You know how that go.
It's all a game, right?
Hmm.
And so real reparations, and I know really weird bullshit like that. I want
Opportunity
somebody to
zones.
quantify it. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? Crunch the numbers and figure out how much I'm getting and run me my shit.
Right.
Um, yeah, that's all I got for now because I don't really know what the perfect. I'm not versed enough in the particularities of immigration to get into that. But I already said something has to happen there, so I guess those are the things specifically that I can speak on.
Those were wonderful. Also, Tyler
Oh
said
yeah,
prison
Tyler said,
reform.
yeah,
Right. We got other
abolish
things.
prisons, man.
KJ said best way to deal with immigration is for U.S. government to stop intervening in other countries' politics and exploiting their people for cheap labor. Hence, back to the woes by capitalism too, and exploiting them
Hmm.
by incentivizing them to come over here and do the type of labor that they know that they can pay under the table with. But now this is where we get to like the real, like, that was fun, right? Building our candidate was fun, but like, let's do the reality check now. All right. We built our perfect candidates. Hopefully y'all built y'all perfect candidates along with us. Now let's have a conversation why they would never be elected. Ever.
Hmm.
Like why the electability of our candidates would be so low. First of all, electing a black woman. I mean,
Not a
that's not something that, I mean, we got Kamala for what we have of Kamala. You know what I'm saying? But we know what we want when we say we want a black woman for president. And the idea that the white patriarchy, that the United States as it exists today in all of its racist glory,
yeah.
will allow a woman of color to sit on the highest seat of the office. That's wild to me. Now, we used to say the same thing about a black person in general, and we got Barack Obama for what Barack Obama was, right? White mama and all. Because,
Right.
because niggas is say, no, for real, because niggas is say that there's never been a president with a black mama.
Right.
Niggas will say that, right?
And
There's never been a
it's not a
president
lot.
with a, right. You know what I'm saying? So,
And but listen, by the way, black mammies don't count. They just don't count.
no, that was an employee, my
There have
nigga.
been
It's,
yeah, presidents with black mammies.
yeah,
You do not qualify.
you know what I'm saying? So, yeah, that, like, there's no way that especially that young, 39 to 45, like, in the
Tyler gonna make me
context of
fight.
politics. What he said? On a
He's gonna make
scale
me
of
fight
one
him.
to man.
No, he said, did we skip over the thickness of our black lady president on a scale of one to Meg? And this is why.
They wouldn't let a Meg up there, bro. Like, they wouldn't let. There's no way. Like, the white like sexual fetishes, they whatever, like, could not have. They don't even let thick teachers live. It's
Yeah.
like, yeah, like, this woman is voluptuous, yes, but she's just teaching.
Yeah, and can't help the package she came in.
She can't. You feel me? And they be getting teachers fired just because they have curves. It ain't no way in hell that on a scale to one to Meg, they may get close to like a 3. Like, what is that? Like a making good? Shit, you know what I'm saying?
I
Like,
mean, I've seen some things in my day, but we're not about to sexualize the president. That's also what we're not going to
and
do. I
that
know
was
we're using
what
our
the
imagination.
criticism was. Yes, that's what
I
the
know
Tyler.
Exactly. It was that we had to focus on the qualifications and the execution of the job. Shout out to Marcel, popped in late, but I'm here. Shout out to you for definitely sliding in on the family. Hit that thumbs up if you end up enjoying the conversation. KJ said real quick, bouncing back before we get back to why black women ain't gonna do it or make it. Free political prisoners, no way. People like Leonard Peltier and Mumia Abu Jabal should still be behind bars. We need them
Mm-hmm.
out. We need a place in a world where all of them, the ones who fled the country, can come back home. I agree, 1000%. Now, back to why black women ain't gonna cut it.
So when I was talking about her sexuality, it was more so
Yeah.
private, but not really her not having a husband would heavily work against her. Because again, these are realities to why people vote, not what we think. You know what I'm saying? People should vote on. What you about to say?
Well, just that, I've been seeing a lot of commentary about why all of a sudden, Joe Biden's age is a real and genuine and sincere concern now, just not as a talking point for Republicans, but even for some Democrats. And a
Yeah.
lot of people are saying the obvious reason is niggas are afraid of what's gonna happen if that man pass away or here. I mean, even become incapacitated, is then the president of the United States is gonna
It's
be a
Kamala
black woman. You
Harris.
know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And got them shaking in their boots. You know what I'm saying? Because they thought, a lot of black Democrats. I mean, not black Democrats, but Democrats who are moderates settled. They got Joe and was like, he can bring that Negro gal along, and we'll see how it goes, and he'll do
Yeah.
his thing.
Right.
I don't love it, but I'll deal with it. You know what I'm saying? And now all of a sudden, it's almost a real sincere reality. So you got people in the middle and on both sides of these aisles and issues that are very concerned about what a black woman president could look like. It's
And
wild.
and and I'm gonna be honest.
Scared.
And the reality is, black women not just gonna have white men and white women as obstacles. They're gonna have other black people, men and women.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? That's gonna buy into the pathologization of black people and say we don't
that's
need no
true.
black women up there with we gonna have weave in the White House. Like I could tell you, that would literally be a phrase that would go viral. Weave in the White House. If that was the type of, you know what I'm saying, situation
Yeah,
that they
president
was
that we
in.
had.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like we we recognize the racism at the heart of the country, and so we have to recognize literally that regardless of all the diversity shit they talk about, like that innate, we ain't no woman about to run this, ain't no, you know what I'm saying, like that natural patriarchy that just comes with the socialization of the United States is gonna play too big of a role for a sister, especially again talking about things like reparations, talking about things like black people running for office. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Talk like positioning themselves, starting with things like women's rights.
So we kind of talked about the ambiguity of her sexuality and her being single too. And I kind of don't rock with that, and here's why. Because I also, as much as I want the person to be like un
Tethered.
tethered
Yeah.
and free and ambiguous in what they do, I feel like the sensationalization culture we live in is gonna make it such a distraction and so annoying. Then, if that person has to live their life, if they try to date, either if they are forced to be single the entire time through their presidency because of the pressure of, what I'm saying, being in a relationship, it being highly scrutinized, that's gonna be a lot. I don't want them to date and then the person that they try to date to be, what I'm saying? I feel like that's complicated and it becomes a distraction from real shit. I feel like the black woman and the
So
ambiguity is always already gonna be headline enough. I hate that the possibility of them dating and finding love and being a normal person in that way will be even more highly scrutinized. You know what I'm saying? Because like the man, you know what I'm saying, and like I'll give you a prime example. Say for instance, the news come out that she date men, right? And
mm,
it's a nigga. You said you want a woman from the hood. If she dating a nigga from the hood that's maybe refined, but classic nigga, been through some things, environment
yeah,
may have influenced some of the things that he's seen, maybe even decisions that he's made,
it's
but he
gonna be
pulled it
this
together.
whole shit. Yeah,
Now it's gonna be all. You see how they did Lee with his mugshot? You got
yeah,
fucking George Lee. You know what I'm saying? Of the present and the future, and you want to go dig up stuff about his past. It ain't so. You know what I'm saying? Now it all becomes about him and thug and gangster and da 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 and yada.
yeah.
I
Do
feel
we
like
want a
I almost.
thug in the White House? Okay. Do we want
Oh
gang
my
banging
god! Like I
in
can
the
see the
West Wing?
headlines now, and so,
Yeah,
but I don't want a black woman who is powerful and qualified in a position. It's the last thing I'll say about it. To also be in a position where she cannot receive love, cannot be loved, cannot pursue love,
mm-hmm.
and is forced to. I mean, that's kind of a decision I guess you making if you want to get in the political spotlight,
That's a
because
part
you
of
have to
it.
make
Yeah,
tough decisions. You have to make sacrifices, but I don't want you to like. I don't, because that's the narrative for successful black women is that they have to. It comes at the cost of being able to pursue, a relationship. You at the top of your game. If you're president, you should be more ready than ever to go,
Exactly.
find yourself, to find your other
But then also
part
the questions of,
and parcel and go
well,
do some things, man.
if she not married, what's wrong with it? You know what I'm
Exactly.
saying? Like, if she, she's not traditional enough, like those type of things. But so
And
that's
I
why
can hear
my
the sexist comments now. She acting like that. She must need some. You know what I'm saying? Like it's
exactly.
all too
So
familiar.
exactly. So as much as I would love this sister running for office, it can't happen. Like, it makes her like most of her identity in a way makes her unelectable. So
Wicked.
so
Wicked. Oh. Yeah, my mic has
yeah, get it
decided to
together.
make a decision.
Yeah.
There's no getting it together until we're no longer recording, so we'll just adapt. Um what was the question? Which
Unelectability.
about
What do you think is the most
unelectability?
that makes your candidate unelectable? Yeah.
I definitely think obviously I said non-white, non-male. I mean, I think the
That.
possibility that they're also queer. Yeah, like I think the whole idea of having a queer president, because people are gonna be like, "Oh, I have to call him the first gentleman. I have to call him the," you know what I'm saying? Like, which they already have to do now because of Kamala Harris. You know what I'm saying? So that I think that language barrier has been broken in terms of how
But when it has to
her
do
wife,
with the
I mean, her
male,
husband is,
yeah, I was saying when
huh?
it has to do with the, if it was like first gentleman and it's two men, niggas will lose their shit.
Exactly, right? And so like they're not ready for a trans person, for a genderqueer person who's just like, I'm androgynous and you'll never really know, and I what I give is what I give. You know what I'm saying? Like the readability or lack of readability of bodies in social situations and settings already be having people shook. Imagine if this person is giving the news and you feel like their voice is too deep. Like one of the most annoying conversations I've been unfortunate enough to be privy to, and that we all have at some point, is about Brittany Griner, right?
Mm.
And her voice and her body. And you know what I'm saying? So imagine if you had a president where as soon as they open their mouth, like it's like you had, because you have certain resonance, certain qualities about your voice that may tip off somebody who feels like they can read your gender or whatever. And so now everybody is more focused on how you sound than what you're saying. Like, do you really want to go through 4 years? And nobody would allow, you know what I'm saying? This wouldn't happen. It wouldn't happen.
Mm.
Everything you do, everything you say, how you dress. I think it was crazy seeing Obama in a beige suit.
Yep.
Wait till you get like a genderqueer, gender fluid person who's like going to a ball or going to meet a dignitary who's not putting on a dress or who's not putting on a suit or who's
That's a
like,
whole nother
it would
dynamic too. The
fuck people up.
the American an American presenting themselves as they like a queer American president, presenting themselves as they want to present to like China, to go ahead, yeah, yeah.
I'm that too, but I actually was thinking about something in a different direction. So yes, I think it's norms that people already think the United States is too progressive, focused on all the wrong things, invested in all the trendy political issues, and not really having,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I'm saying? And not only, just really magnetize that. Here's another thing I thought about, because it's gonna be a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation. And this is for anybody we choose,
Mm-hmm.
right? For this is for black women, this is gonna be for whatever, because they not only gonna be highly scrutinized for people who are naturally kind of indoctrinated to not rock with them. We be our own biggest haters, my dude. So imagine
Yeah.
somebody who gets up there and don't do the trans thing right, don't do the gender thing right, or engages in what we know to be homo nationalism, where you know what I'm saying, like they're the good gays that fit into the box, like they're gay, but only representationally, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so they don't do the gay thing right. You know what I'm saying? People are they own people
So
are
it's like
gonna
an
eat them up. We did
authenticity
it to
test. Yeah. Yeah.
yes, we did it to Obama. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying? So you're gonna be, criticized on both sides. And I think that's what's gonna be hurtful the most. Cause I mean, in hindsight, we was like, all right, Barack Obama got us going. He didn't have to be everything to everybody. And, he was just somebody who just like busted the door open. Now it's time for the people to walk in. But during it, it was like, you are the one.
Yeah.
You have to represent us. You are the
Yeah.
voice, the
We had to learn
person,
a harsh lesson.
that shit heavy.
Yeah.
That man went in there with salt, with light salt and pepper, and came out white on the top of his head. And that's because the white people stressed him out, and we probably did too. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So the importance of this part of the conversation is that we understand that our perfect candidate, whether it's my perfect candidate, Toya perfect candidate, whether it's the white nationalist perfect candidate, is unelectable. The person that you like, this is the motherfucker that I vote for, no question. You will not find them, and if you
Yeah.
did, actually, I take that back. You can find them. They're in no serious race to win any serious office outside of like maybe some local office where it's like 100 some people. What's up?
I've always said, right? The reason why I don't get into politics and the reason why a lot of my favorite heroes are not in those spaces and places is because of the negotiating you have to do to be in politics itself. There is a watering down, there is an assimilation, there
Mm-hmm.
is a behind the curtain dirty work you have to do to get up in them upper echelons. You know what I'm saying? Like the same way with a billionaire, it ain't no ethical billionaires, man. You done had to do some real tricky shit. And a lot of millionaires I'm looking sideways at. You know what I'm saying? So when it comes to getting that deep, I don't think our favorite candidates will ever be our ideal candidates will ever be in those positions because they would have to compromise too much in order to do so.
So then my question for the chat, my question for you, Toya, um, what are we good? Can you hear me?
What are
Can you
we?
hear me? Okay.
Mm?
The question is, oh, here we go. Does the search for the perfect candidate create disillusionment amongst voters, amongst the electorate? Like, are we in the position that we're in? Is because we look for candidates that make us feel like, or we desire candidates that make it to where we don't have to compromise. Like if I believe this about genocide, or if I believe this about racism, then I want a candidate that, like, if I vote for them, doesn't make me compromise on that issue. Uh, but I would make the argument that, like, based on what we just kind of talked about and what we described, the unelectability of the perfect candidate, is that means that if you're gonna vote, it requires compromise.
Mm.
You know what I mean? So it's like, is it the idea that we think we can find a candidate that would not make us compromise, making it to where, well, we don't want to vote?
No, because I feel like the average voter is smart enough and intuitive enough and like logical enough to understand that you're not gonna get everything you want from somebody. You know what I'm saying? Like we grow up as people in so many situations where you have to negotiate and compromise and take what you can get sometimes and maybe revisit shit. That's in relationships, that's with parents, that's your job. Like that's what we do. So I don't think anybody is ignorant enough to say, you know, my wish list doesn't come true, my candidate isn't out there. What people are tired of is the bullshit. The people are tired of two different versions of the same bullshit. You want really, really hard policies on immigration, and you ain't got no good ideas that are meaningful or competitive with the shit. So it's really seeming like a wash for everybody. Ain't nobody dealing with it. Well, fuck both of y'all. Okay, you scared to talk about black people specifically, and when you talk about black people specifically, it's either very paternalistic, very opportunistic, or you up here parting the damn rappers and shit. Whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like it's so much like
Yeah,
it really ain't nobody got no business in town. You and I have both been specific about the desire to look and be interested and piqued by any candidate, regardless of what their party
yeah,
affiliations are, because we are interested in party politics. The relationship people were able to build with Joe Biden was based off of shit like, I don't know what that nigga talking about with this. I don't know nothing about no green technology with that. Ain't even no charging stations in my neighborhood with this shit. So your climate change shit, maybe I care about it later. But these student loans though, you know what I'm saying? It was something they could put, and latch on to and put some teeth in. Like it was different specific things that really issue based things. They
mm-hmm.
didn't have nothing to do. It was just like when it came down to it, I know I'm not
It's
gonna
just something
get. You
that
don't
would
look like you
matters.
need
Yeah,
to. You don't sound like you need to. You have even said some really fucked up shit in the past about crime and black people and shit like that. But
of course.
I can see past that if you just give me something. And so I feel like no, the lack of an ideal candidate is not the reason why people don't participate or what I'm saying, engage in their ability to vote. The piss poor versions of the candidates that we get and the lack of follow through when they do get and we do take a chance on them has turned people off.
So this is where I got to push back a little bit, and I think since 2016, really, since the end of Obama's term and the disillusionment that we had with Obama, because it was like there was like a radical wave on social media of like what our expectations should be. We was a part of that. I was going around saying like, yo, they elected a nigga. Obama got to be the Antichrist. You know what I'm saying? It's like there's no other way around. Like
There's
the
no other
most
way to
this
explain it.
racist ass country, he got to be some way connected to the devil. Half jokingly, of course, half jokingly, but but there was a radical wave of people that was not willing to
So
accept Obama's representational politics with his moderate policies, right? So once we moved out of recognizing that, damn, having a black president wasn't as ideal as we thought, because like that was one of the things where it was just like, well, wait, if we had a black president, we would, right? Which was a
right.
part of like that hero building that niggas did in their mind. If we had a black president, he would do this. If we had a black president, not even questioning whether or not that, like, what they were asking of that black president, whether or not it would get him elected, right? It was just, if we had one, this was the assumption. So
Right.
the once we built that black hero in our head, we thought we got that black hero with Obama. Some people were, yeah, can you hear me?
I can't hear you all of a sudden. You said some people what?
Some people willing to accept the representational politics, a lot that's not. So we go into
Mm-hmm.
2016, and the basis of a lot of Hillary was representational politics. Like we need a woman in office. We need, you know what I'm saying, we need to break the glass ceiling. So again, the hero that we created failed us. Now representational politics isn't enough. And now it's like I'm not voting for Hillary because where she stands on this, I'm not willing to compromise on. Like so, like the super her the fact that she made the super predator comment, I'm not willing to cast my ballot for her. You feel me? The fact that she was
Mm-hmm.
connected to this type of government that did these types of things, I'm not willing to. You feel me? Even though the reality of all of the candidates was being implicated in all of that. So I that's why I actually do think that it's this I the belief of an ideal candidate that kind of positions us in a way to where it's like, well, I'm not voting because I'm not willing to compromise this. And it's a difficult conversation to have, but when we talk about what's happening with Israel is a perfect example of this. Some of the comments I was making when the Israel conflicts first started had to do with the idea that genocide was the status quo. So when people say I'm not willing to vote because of genocide, it's like the system that we exist in proliferates genocide. You feel me? So it's one of those things to where, yeah, I got you. It's one of those things to where if we know that this one thing isn't unique to genocide, like Joe Biden isn't unique to genocide, then again we at that place where you're saying, well, you're not willing to compromise on something that is literally the system. You feel me? So it's like, yeah, that, like, I think we have reached a point where people believe that, and this isn't bad either, that they believe that there is a that candidate. You feel me? But right now it's more focused on like this we know we don't want this. You feel me? But
Well, no,
yeah,
the only thing, and the only thing I want to add is not necessarily disagreement because that's a flaw in the system, and I think that is why we end up with the wash cycle repeat, the wash rinse repeat cycle that we end up in. I have more so a rationale for that, and it's just like I think the stripped down, watered down, like just so bare bones skeleton version of what personally, like how I materialize my democracy, like shit. Like I don't get nothing. Like I want to use my ballot to like be like with something. No, because you're gonna do what you want to with my taxes, and you're gonna do what you want to about this. You know what I'm saying? Like, so can I have anything that makes this democracy that I'm supposed to be like be so beloved and so cherished so much,
yeah,
and that's in this constitution with this flag? Like I think there's just such a desire to like want it to mean something. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? Like damn, like and so much, when so much is out of my control, when so much of my shit gets washed out and lost in the abyss of everybody else's voice and ballot and agenda and shit like that, like in that moment, like I think people will just get indignant about wanting to feel something. And what is sucky is that you can only see as far as your nose sometimes, and so you only really you forget that everybody else got the same feeling. So if you got
yeah.
a bunch of people fragmented and wanting to get something to go their way and to stand and have a hard, did their heels in the ground about something, you got a whole bunch of disenchanted, fractured, unmobilized people who just get what they get and they live to be pissed off another day. And so that's the fucked up part about it. Cause like you're right, like the stuff we not willing to be flexible and resistant on this shit that is like in the inner workings and the mechanization is just the cake been baked. You know what I'm saying? And we the flavor of the day. It's
I
German
and
chocolate.
I mean, yeah, I think that it's just I don't know if it's like just like a mental thing that we do. You know what I'm saying? When we separate like what like America does, from like our ability to even sit and do this type of shit. Like all of these electronics come from some resources being mined by underage children, being mined.
Yeah, we lost you for just a second.
Yeah, I gotta give me a new cord, but being, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying, be in all of it's some of the worst circumstances are necessary for us to have the type of shit that we have, like to have podcasting equipment and everything else. But then it's like when we get to these political conversations, it's like, oh, but my ethics, you know what I'm saying, like what I believe.
Hmm.
You feel me? I can't compromise that. It's like, nigga, we compromise that shit every time we answer the phone, every time we get a new phone. You know what I'm saying? Just as a very specific example. So I guess we kind of
I
disagree there, but I think that, I mean, it's still.
don't think we
va-
agree. I very muchly I agreed with you. I think
Oh
I was
no,
just providing rationale about kind of what were you saying we disagree about then?
no, because you were saying that you don't think that it's caused like the voter
We do
apathy.
disagree about that.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. I was saying I do think it causes voter apathy because like once you recognize you got to compromise, niggas then get disenchanted. They get disillusioned. You know what I'm saying? So
That's fair.
yeah, so that's that. We had a few more comments. You had something? Or?
No, I mean I was about to say we can jump into the comments, and I think that might put a lid on it a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. So, a few more comments. Let me see. We had Miss Ma'am. We should make future candidates campaign without identifying visuals. Make them win over people based on their stances and actual policies. Ooh. And historically, we know that as debaters, we've heard this a million times. The distinction between Richard Nixon and John F. Kennedy was
Mm-hmm.
based on whether or not you watched it or heard it on the radio.
Yep.
So I think that's extremely important, but also let's not act like we don't traffic in identity, like we don't traffic in
I
racial
mean, but
values.
it's good until it's not. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't mind candidate A, candidate B, candidate C, candidate D. What's good?
Eh, yeah, I wouldn't either. I wouldn't either, but I do think though. Yeah, that's interesting. I got to think about that
I
a little
wouldn't
more.
mind it.
Yeah, I got to think about that a little more. Those people say it's naive to think that a president's race would determine anything about how their policies play out. That's true too, because the opposition that you deal with be crazy. Donnell said, "I just feel like we get in our own way. There is a plurality of issues. The vast majority of us agree on. Hold these candidates to those issues that would start the
That would
process."
start the process. Facts.
Yeah, I think where the conflict come though is how to solve the problem, like what the problem need. Because some people think like, well, black people just need to get their shit together, and that's how the problem will be solved. So like when you dealing with them type, when you dealing with them type of folk, you having some issues. Those people said Hillary would have put a black woman on the Supreme Court. That's true. I always said Joe Biden was the white male version of Hillary Clinton, or just the male version of Hillary Clinton.
Mm-hmm. They're
Uh,
both white.
right.
Yes. Yes,
KJ
they are.
said, agree with the chat that we can't fall in love with identity and not fixate over policies more. But it's not just this country is accustomed to old white people having lots of political power.
Mm-hmm.
But I say this, y'all say that y'all won't. You know what I'm saying? I have certain aspects of black nationalist politics. I love black people. You feel me? I don't think it should be hidden. I don't think it should be dismissed for the sake of comfortability or confusion. It should be accepted and appreciated the way that we accept and appreciate others. And with that being said, Toya, any last words?
Hey, we love y'all. Tonight was great. If you haven't hit that thumb, hood therapy. You got a whole great fire conversation to get into if you haven't been in here the whole time. So make sure you go run the whole app back and join us, everybody, again on Thursday night, this coming Thursday night. We of course got a solid conversation with you. And this is the second to last. I always love to use this word, using this word, the penultimate Thursday of the month. Next Thursday will be the last Thursday of the month and will be our Black History Month show. So
A
tapping with
very
us this week. A very,
interesting Black History Month show.
I think if I may say so myself, we're gonna have a great time. We're setting it up for y'all. In the meantime, though, pop in on Thursday, catch up with this week's latest conversation, make sure we're on the same wavelength. And it's love to y'all, man. Happy Presidential Day. Um, be be presidential. Do something cool. Do something just like above the norm and just make you feel official as shit. I don't know. Wear your good shirt tomorrow when you go to work or school. Uh Honestly, you know what I'm saying? Like take a little extra time, do the little thing, you know what I'm saying? Like just do something to make you feel elite. This ain't gotta be about them. This could
Yeah,
be about you and me. You feel me?
right,
But
right.
it's love to y'all. Y'all share this time with us on this Monday, and I'm grateful. See y'all on Thursday. That's my last word.
Man, we will see y'all on Thursday, Black History Month convo. And we out. It's the chop up. We see y'all.
See it. Love you. Peace.
Finished. I didn't think we was gonna build